Listen to you talk just reminded me of a story of my grandfather, my Grandpa Wilkes.
All right.
So on my dad's side, Ralph Wayne Wilkes. My dad is Gerald Wayne Wilkes.
All right.
And then I got Wayne
Wayne
moved to the first name.
Wayne Wilkes.
No. My grandfather he was amazing. He had such an inventor's mind.
Okay.
He was super creative. Trade-wise, he was a carpenter. And so, I don't know if you remember, but mid-'80s, St. Louis did a full restoration of their downtown Union Station.
Oh, sure.
And he was one of the lead carpenters on that project and did a lot of the finishing woodwork inside of there or whatever. And so, anyway, amazing carpenter. He's also very mechanically inclined. It's where my dad learned to work on cars, which then led to him becoming an auto mechanic as trade and all that. But anyway, yeah, my grandfather was always inventing things. And what your story reminded me of, I don't remember how old I was. I was pretty little. But he always had a garden in the backyard where he had tomatoes and onions and carrots and peas and all kinds of stuff. And he had a problem with the squirrels and the rabbits coming and just devastating his garden.
The bane of my existence. Fucking squirrels.
Right. Well, he got tired of it. Mm-hmm. And he did not care about those little fuckers. Uh-huh. And again, the way his mind worked and how he thought of this stuff just boggles my mind. But he took an old distributor out of a small block Chevy V8. He then took an alternator, and I'm probably getting some of the details mixed up because I'm not mechanically inclined like he thinks or whatever. But I do remember specifically he had an alternator. He had the distributor out of a late model Chevy V8. And he basically made himself an electric generator that had a pretty slow pull cycle on it, and he hooked that, and then because he's a carpenter, he built this nice little house cover to go over top of it to protect it and to make it look nice, so it just didn't look like junk parts sitting out there in the garden. But he made this little house that he painted and made this. It was a covered over this thing, but this alternator and this distributor and some other things and a car battery and all that, he made this little electric generator and hooked it to, it was the squirrels, but it was also the birds. The birds too. The birds would come in and eat things or whatever. And so he hooked it to wires, basically made an electric fence around his garden. And I remember he was showing me this one day, and we were walking out there, and he always had carpenter. He always had his hammer in that loop on your side pants leg, and so he pulled his hammer out. And he's like, check this out. And I remember him holding this hammer probably 3 inches off of the top wire of this fence, and seeing kind of like the old Frankenstein movies.
Yeah, the old Jacob's Ladder.
Where the Jacob's Ladder. Yeah. And you get the little electricity jumping. About 3 inches away, this arc just jumped to the thing.
Not cool.
We went back inside, and he's like, let's go back inside and just sit and watch. And sure enough, a squirrel came running by and went to go climb up and over the fence. And it put his hand out, grabbed that wire, and
yeah.
Took off running.
Oh, okay.
It didn't kill it or anything, but it zapped it enough to where it took off the other direction and wanted no part of that garden.
Until it forgot and came right back. I don't know.
But birds would do the same thing. Birds would swoop in, and they would see the fence, and so they would swoop in to land on it to kind of survey the area and figure out what they were going to take. And they would go to land on the wire, and they would get just close enough, and it would start to arc.
Change the little bird mind.
Yep.
Man, that's something. That's something.
And obviously, I wasn't quite born yet, but my dad tells me a story of I think it was like in the 50s. My grandpa took an old thermostat, like a house thermostat, and he wired up some things, and he basically made a contraption to where if the temperature got down to a certain, he could set the temperature on there. If the temperature got down below a certain temperature, it would automatically start his car. And so, he had it set up to where it would, and then I think from there he altered it somehow, but basically he could remote start essentially the car to warm it up before it was time to go to work in the morning.
Yeah, if you could figure out how to hook it up to a thermostat, you could definitely figure out how to hook it up to an alarm clock.
So yeah,
I was thinking, you can hook a light like a heat lamp up to a thermostat, and so like when it gets to a certain temperature, it kicks the light on and it keeps your block from freezing. Dear listener, if you're listening in a southern state, you don't really have to deal with these kind of things, but here in the Midwest and above north, your freezing temperatures will absolutely ruin your engine. It'll bust the block. It'll pop your freeze plugs out. It'll wreak havoc. Then you'll have to either get a new engine or just get a damn new car. So yeah, we think of these things. We think of either starting the car in the middle of the night or figuring out some way to make the damn thing start when it gets too cold. But you can't always do that. Yeah, there's all kinds of craftiness going on. That's pretty neat information about your bloodline there. What all have you invented? Have you invented any little contraptions? Any kind of anything?
Nope.
No? All right.
Definitely not on that scale.
That's fine. Your son, on the other hand, it sounds like he's going to be one of those kind of people.
According to him, he's taken over the city.
Yeah. Right. If he hasn't, he's going to figure it out.
The mind of a 3-year-old is just absolutely hysterical, and how and when these little sound bites of information kind of come to them as they start whether it's cartoons here and there or hearing things at school or home or wherever. But yeah, we're on our way to drop him off at daycare one morning, and my wife turns around and goes, "Henry, what are you gonna do today at school?" And without even hesitating, he just goes, "I'm gonna take over the city." I mean, the just most diabolical laugh you can imagine.
He's been thinking about it too. He's been thinking about it. If he had that answer right off top of his head, no hesitation. He's been thinking about it. There's something in this city he wants. And he wants it all. I want it all, and I want it now. Little Queen for you.